Hey everybody, welcome to day 142, GetDownAndDoIt.com. I don't think I posted a video last night. I was busy with a clogged drain. We got that taken care of, $175. Not bad for a plumber for about 45 minutes of work, huh? Not bad. Maybe I should have gone into plumbing. In a way, I guess it's apropos. The body is a plumbing system as well, and this is a physical exercise video blog, so I suppose it's appropriate from time to time to talk about plumbing, and I don't mean that in kind of a gross, obvious metaphor type way, but in terms of all the little systems of your body, they're all connected by veins and arteries and spaces that liquids flow in between, and it's really good to take care of that. It's commonly said by a lot of people that your body is a temple, and that's cool. That's a kind of a neat way to think about it. I think a lot of people would benefit by thinking more about that, but I think that that's the best way they had to put it in the old days. Most people were, religious, I guess, and they went to church, and it made a lot of sense. It's something that you would respect as a temple. I think now that the information age has come, though, I think that there may be an improved way to think about it, and that would be to think of your body as an antenna. It's not an original thought by me. It's something I've read. I remember about a year ago I was reading a book by a guy named Gabriel Cousins. He's a doctor in Arizona, and I think he may have made that metaphor. For some reason, it just popped back in my head recently, because I felt that I kind of tuned into some kind of frequency recently, and I won't go into that story here, but when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense that the mental clarity stems from physical condition. I mean, if you have a lot of plaque in your veins and your arteries and in your brain, then sooner or later that's going to affect how you think, right? I mean, I think it would. That does not mean to say that thin, healthy people are better thinkers than fat, out of shape people. Although I don't know, I'd like to see a thought on that. It doesn't really mean that, though. I mean, I'd like to see a study on that. But because certainly I've known many heavyset and or unhealthy people in my time that far, outthought anything I could ever think. I mean, or at least so far that I have thus far. So, that theory might not hold 100% true completely, but I think there's some validity in it nonetheless. I think some people, for example, maybe have been born with natural gifts toward different things, toward thinking or toward understanding various systems such as music or mathematics or whatever it is that they understand, or if they're progressed on a spiritual or psychological level, and they can do things, they can explain things, they can communicate, whatever they can do, whatever their gifts are. There are those natural gifts, but I think for the general population, I firmly believe that the better health you are in physically, the more clarity you'll have mentally. And I'm usually a better writer than I am a speaker, so it's kind of weird that I have a vlog, because usually I would have kind of thought all this out a little better before I wrote it down. But I do think that, and so when you think of the body in terms of being an antenna, it makes sense that you want to make that an antenna as powerful as you can through eating a proper diet. Don't eat the junk food. Those fried bloomin' onion things at the Outback Steakhouse. Those are not. That doesn't count as a vegetable. I mean, that's basically just fried crap. So you shouldn't put that kind of crap into your body, or at least not a lot. You need to cut down on that. Exercise. That's another big one. That's what we're doing here, is we're talking about exercise. And this program, you notice when you stick with a program, whether it's a mental program, a physical program like this one, an emotional or psychological program, for example, therapy, or like a spiritual or more metaphysical type progression of studies, whatever you call it, course of study, you get better at it. Things become easier. And so I have this theory that if you work on all those areas at once, you're actually able to get out of the 9-to-5 role and not have so many responsibilities and stop wasting time and all that kind of stuff, and really focused on progressing in those areas. Wow, imagine what kind of things you could tune into with honing the capability of your body to receive all these things. So anyway, I just think that it's a good metaphor. I don't know why I even brought it up tonight, other than to say I think it's a good metaphor, and I think that sticking with this program, it's 142 days now, sticking with this program without fail has perhaps begun to pay off a little bit in terms of some of that clarity that I was talking about. I kind of referenced it obliquely, but I'm sensing that that's coming into play a little bit. You really have to stick with it through the tough stuff. There's going to be days when you don't feel like doing it. There's going to be awful days. There's going to be, hopefully a lot of happy ones in there too, where you're too excited. I always like to look at that. By the way, when you like when you hate somebody you work with, if you try to spin that into a positive, you could say, boy, I wish, instead of saying, I wish Joe would get fired, that's kind of a negative thing to think. But if you think to yourself, I wish Joe would hit the lottery and quit and, get out of my life in a positive way, maybe that's a better way to think about those kind of things. But anyway, when you do all that, I think you can improve the strength of that antenna, and that when you do that, the signals that you're trying to receive in life, whatever they may be, even if it's just mental clarity about things, I think those will improve. Whether it's a rational thing that you seek, for example, an understanding of some area of study, some area of academic study, or some other thing that you're trying to understand. I think that the better shape you're in physically, it cannot hurt you in those other ways. It can only help. And I'm not there yet. I know I have ways to go, but day 141, I think, was a landmark day. That was yesterday, in terms of just hitting a clarity I never had before, and I was just freaked out by it. It was great. It only lasted a little while, unfortunately. I had to go back to work, but that's my message for today. I'm going to have to cut this off because it's at 8 minutes, and I can't go over 10 for YouTube. So at least I don't think I can. Maybe you can. Anyway, so this is Jim from GetDownAndDoIt.com, where we do 100 push-ups a day, 5 days a week. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 143. Take care, everybody. Bye.